Hello, everyone, and hello again if you've been with us since this morning. First of all, can you tell us on the chat if you can see and hear us well? Perfect. Frank, Craig, and Matthew, perhaps you'd like to say a few words?
Yeah, sure. So, hello, everybody. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are dialing in from. I know we're at the very coveted 12 p.m. Lunch time slot on the East Coast, so appreciate y'all taking some time to have lunch and sit in with us. I am Frank Vitovich. I'm going to be moderating today's panel. I'm the Vice President of Solutions at Spotify, a SEO software platform for those unfamiliar. But I have been in the SEO space now for almost 20 years coming up on it. This fall, and I've worked at other platforms. I've also worked at a number of different agencies where we had where I've overseen SEO teams. So very excited today to be part of this topic, measuring SEO success for internal buy-in, and to be joined by two individuals who I've gotten to know now over the last couple of years, who I know are going to provide some great insights for everybody, who I will let introduce themselves. I don't know. We didn't decide who goes first. So do you guys either want to rock, paper, scissors, or does somebody just
alphabetically always works for me? So Craig, you can take
all right,
it away,
but first name or last name? All right, we'll go with Craig. He has you both.
Yeah, Matthew's always throwing me out. Yeah, you're always throwing me out there first. So I'm Craig Harkins. I'm Director of SEO and Content at Apartments.com. We're part of Costar Group, large real estate marketplace sites. We own several. You've seen our Super Bowl ads for Apartments and Homes.com, kind of our latest entrant. And like Frank, I've been in the SEO space for a long time, longer than I care to date myself with the different updates. Working on a variety of different sites, e-commerce, and then travel, and now with Apartments.com, it's a real estate marketplace site. So what we do is connect with renters looking for their next place to live, and help them search through different properties that are advertising on our networks to connect them with kind of the best fit for them for a rental, be it an apartment, a house, or what have you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I am Matthew Osuch. I am the VP of SEO at Getty Images, iStock Photo. I have been, like Craig and Frank, in the SEO industry for just over 2 decades. I will date myself, Craig. It's just fun to say it that way. I agree. I've been in the game for a lot longer than I can remember the earliest SEO updates of Matt Cutts and other representatives at Google, back before things became standard to hear from them every so often, and they had documentation. I have had a historied career in SEO from the beginning. I was a developer, designer, programmer, and webmaster of the early 2000s. That's what we called ourselves back then. We didn't know what SEO really was going to be called. And then made my way through the rounds of small agencies, large agencies, got to work for Publicis at Razorfish and Rosetta, got to work for some amazing clients there as well. Some hotelier sites, some CPG, some other automotive and other brands. Worked for Ziff Davis and for a short stint WeWork, and then ended up at Getty Images, where I am today. Really excited to talk to you guys about questions about scaling and measuring SEO and internal buy-in and all the different topics we have going on today. And I want to encourage everybody that when Frank brings up a topic, and if we don't go too deep into it, hold us to it. Ask us some questions on the side that we'd be happy to get to in your FAQs in the question and answer section.
Awesome. Yes. Use the question functionality to ask anything that you want. We're going to probably chat for the next 35 minutes, maybe, depending on time. We want to leave plenty of time for questions at the end. I see the chat is on fire, so it looks like there is now cake talk going on, since it is end of the day for some folks. Simon, I see, specifically asked if there would be cake. I'm sorry, we did not bring any, but feel free to to indulge as we as we go in. You could say that there's layers to the conversation that we are about to have. So, starting early with the dad puns on this side. But I'm very excited to be able to to moderate the session, because measuring SEO success for internal buy-in is something that in the many years that I've worked in the space has probably always been one of the biggest challenges, specifically for in-house teams to be able to not just get buy-in to SEO as a channel, but also to get buy-in for individual individual projects and initiatives. So much so that actually here at Botify, we rolled out our own measurement system for measuring the return on search spend, which we've deemed ROS in our platform, or sorry, in our at our company. We were actually gonna name it Chandler, but then it only would have applied to Bing. So joke number 2, I see Matt shaking his head, so we're off to I needed to work something up, and that was the best that I could do. I see laughter emojis coming in, so I think we're off to a good start here. But with that, let's jump right into to the session here, and I'm going to throw this first question out for you, Matt and Craig. But first, we'll start off with what challenges have you come across in your careers when it comes to telling the value story of SEO, and what have been the value drivers that that you have had success with in doing so? I don't know. Do we want to
question,
go?
Frank? Yeah, we'll do reverse for a second. For me, I think there's always the constant ask all of those years back, is what is the value that you're driving if it's not just traffic? There's certain brands and sites that will concern themselves only with traffic and not really the quality of that traffic. But the quality indicator for all of us over the years has continued to be revenue driving traffic, revenue driving keyword terminology. Now, you do get the sticky CEO, CMO, or individuals at the highest level that will only Google 2 particular words in your industry that they want to show up for, that they think are the most valuable things. I see Craig laughing. He's been there. Apartments for rent, right, Craig? I'm sure that's something that you get on a daily basis. Why aren't we number 1? Why can't we be number 1 and number 2, number 3? But we always have to break down what is the meaningful content, what is the meaningful material and visitor traffic type that we're going to get that's going to convert and turn into revenue for the company. That's always the biggest measurable opportunity. For me, over the years, I've been able to refine that down into not just traffic, but brand and non-brand traffic splits. If your homepage is driving only brand traffic, which in certain cases I've been lucky enough that that's been the case, and we've had other landing pages that drive non-brand traffic, we've usually gauged ourselves in our rankings, our traffic, and then the revenue from those visitors from the non-brand side of things as the most impactful area that SEO can really drive for the bottom line of the company. So that's where I've started my conversations, at least over the last 10 or 15 years. Craig?
Yeah, very much the same way. Even before, at apartments.com, we're all about driving that qualified traffic, just like you said. Just random traffic that isn't going to convert into a lead or interest for a renter to a property is really not going to help us at all and not going to help our customers. But where we can find that traffic, find those traffic opportunities and deliver those and show those really in that, that non-branded approach, that's where we provide the value. Now, earlier in my career, it was a challenge, at some places where, SEO, we sat in the marketing department and had to go against, the paid team who could say we spent X dollars and got Y clicks and that was Z conversions. And so you had a very linear approach that was easy to report on. So for me, for those days, it was finding those, how do we talk about those organic entrances and what those conversion rates are and kind of layer those up, paid versus organic, and then make really good friends with the analytics team, because no matter what reports you're pulling, that analytics team is the source of truth for the executives, and you want your storytelling to match up with the data that they're providing in their storytelling. And that was a very early learning I had in my SEO career, is, you know, validate the data you're getting from, you know, your SEO tools and you know, Google Analytics, how you're looking at it versus how the analytics team is looking at it, because, you know, they're kind of the arbiter for all of the various teams trying to make claims on traffic and value. And so you get them seeing things your way, or have them provide you with, hey, this is how they're measuring it, and then you're telling a consistent story. And then when you go and make that next ask or make that next comparison, it's not, you know, oh, well, it's apples and oranges. It's, oh, yes, we're all talking from the same set of metrics. And so that makes, then when you have to have some challenging conversations around needing resources or comparisons, you know, you've already got that trust set up so that it's, the conversations is about the tactics and the strategies, not about validating the data.
I like that approach, Craig, especially the earlier part you mentioned in making friends with the paid team, understanding where their traffic is coming from. It's always been a tough comparison between those two teams in marketing, right?
Yeah.
Between, oh, I paid this much, I got this much traffic, it converted this much percentage, done. This is why you should give me more money, because I'm going to get more of that traffic and it's going to cost me this much and it's going to convert at this rate. Done. And it turns into this revenue. I think that I still do at times to help size the opportunity of what this traffic might cost if it was put on a paid team, is go back to our, what are the monthly search volumes or traffic that we're getting from SEO, or what's the total attainable opportunity of a traffic sizing at only, you know, if we were to max out at position 3 or position 1, and the click-through rate curves, of course. But I say to that, what would be the cost of the traffic to get all that traffic from SEO today if it was done by paid search teams? And so that also could be considered part of a savings, where if the SEO is not maintained as well as growing, that might have to be back on a paid search team that you'd have to put out of pocket to get that traffic. We do. I hope there are still people out there to consider SEO as not as a free traffic source channel, but at least as an earned and organic source channel that does not cost you per every click.
Oh, yeah.
It's free traffic, Matt, until it goes down, right? I think that's something that every SEO has always, or has all felt before too, where, you know, organizationally, sometimes it is seen as free until search volume is down. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's not as free anymore. I'm sorry, Craig, it sounded like you might have had something to add there too, right before I jumped in.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, kind of before the show, we had that discussion around, you know, replacement cost of SEO, like how to measure the amount to spend on that investment in, you know, the development and website building and product features. And, you know, that's where we are today, you know, being within a product organization. It's very much, you know, product managers come to the SEO team to get some of those metrics on, well, what does search look like? Is this feature going to be something that starts on a search engine for search and then lands on our websites, or is it something that's a secondary search that someone needs their primary search in a search engine to come to us, and then this is a secondary feature that doesn't have much, you know, SEO value, but has that conversion path value, and we provide those insights back to the product teams in deciding those gates of, you know, how much does SEO have to be on top of this feature for it to win, or for it to deliver the product metrics that the product management team needs.
You guys bring up a really good point too, and it's kind of related to one of the things we talked about. I don't know if we actually brought it up specifically in our pre meeting, so apologies. But I think a good follow up to that is, you guys make a great point about where SEO sits And we talked about it sitting, kind of sometimes in marketing, sometimes in product. I'm sure there's some other areas of business that it does sit. Those are the two that I know, we see the most in terms of the clients that we're working with. How different of a challenge is it to get buy-in from your all's perspective of depending on whether or not you are on the marketing, living within the marketing org or living, within a product org, if you have any, experience in that area.
So I guess it pings back to me to go first now. So having worked in both, where it was sitting in a marketing organization and then sitting in a product organization. Sitting in a product organization, I'm closer to the engineering teams, and it makes it easier to have those regular conversations and to also be with the other product managers to see their roadmaps and to influence, oh, you're driving this product feature, but let me add what I need at the starting point for SEO, versus being in a marketing organization. If it's really fully content driven, then I think that works because you can influence the creative briefs and the content strategy. But if you're in a marketing team and it's really product focused SEO, you've got additional gates to go through. And sometimes in the marketing organization, you don't see what the product teams are going to launch. And then you're kind of chasing a release behind to get, SEO items updated because you're not embedded in all those conversations. So for me, because of the scale and what we do, being embedded in the product team has led to a lot more success.
I agree, Craig. I've also, over the last 8 to 10 years, seen a flip and flop of where SEO is positioned within several of the larger organizations that I've been at. They have been underneath of product and technology, then switched over to marketing. I've been fortunate to have that kind of experience where being attached to product and technology, similar experiences. Being able to sit next to or be in the group with conversations around the technology, the implementation, the back end, the way that they're bringing solutions to the front end, and understanding the highly technical side of SEO with them, being able to evangelize that SEO knowledge base to that team, but also then taking it to the marketing side where we're talking about the messaging, the content that's being written, the selection of terminology that content writers that are not SEO educated seem to not know about or not really utilize those tools, and create an educational path for them to make sure that they're writing about the right things or using the right tools that we use. So there's been a lot of crossover between those two areas for me. I think because I lean slightly more technical SEO, I enjoy the product and tech alignment of SEO. Those are a lot of the things that are more within our control when it comes to that kind of implementation and correction, and how we can get things done on the SEO side of things. But really, I mean, making sure that you're completely across both of those organizations, technology and marketing, where there is separate training. Please, you've got to have separate training for everybody that's listening in today. Do not try and train engineers and coders on keyword best practices. Maybe you get a little bit into template, stylization and H1s, H2s, whatever, but make sure you save all that rest of that keyword research for a content training. If they want to attend both and learn completely and holistically about SEO, the more the merrier.
That's the holy
There's no
grail.
extra charge. Yeah, that is the best. That's absolutely it. So yeah, it's a good point.
And does it create any different challenges in terms of actual measurement cost as well, based on which side of the house? Like when you're on a product side, do things like just like the actual lift required to get things implemented, is that seen more as part of your sort of quote unquote cost of of doing business, versus on a marketing side where if you're living within the marketing side of the house, you don't necessarily have that direct access that you do on a product team? Or is measurement of success relative, or have you seen it be relatively the same?
I've been lucky over the last couple of years that, and the last couple of roles that I've had at different companies, that I've been able to get full-time developer resources dedicated to the track of SEO
You
that
just
then
made some
work.
people jealous, I think.
Just
When we see them.
not trying to flex. It's just that I got lucky, and there was real SEO dedication the last couple of places I've been to where they had to prioritize and wanted to prioritize the SEO work and track, and so having dedicated developers really added to that value. As far as being on the marketing side of things, yep, it's always a conversation of, well, what are the developers doing? What time are they spending? To get these things to market, building product pages, building landing pages, or other structures for you to scale your work. Well, we could have spent that money on some paid search ads, and we know how much traffic it'll bring. We know the conversion rate of that traffic, and we know the amount of revenue that'll come from. Stop with all of your speculation, and let's just work in the finite, the absolutes of numbers, the spreadsheets of things. And that's always a tough conversation to have with any senior leadership that has knowns and unknowns. And I find that the SEO side of things can often come more from the unknowns. I don't know, you Craig, what do you think?
So like you, I'm kind of living the SEO's dream right now in having those engineering resources that can be dedicated to SEO. Like we'll flex teams based upon what we need to happen. If it's a big front end product feature, then kind of more teams get, more engineering resources get flexed over to that. But then SEO always gets, you know, gets some dedicated capacity, which is great because then you can just keep chipping away at items that you've got on the backlog that add up to a big thing. But when we're lobbying for more resources, it is that, what's the replacement cost? It would cost us this much to go and get the additional traffic that if we spent these engineering resources, we could earn that traffic up as a long-term investment. So it's a kind of, do you buy the traffic now, or do you invest the resources to have that kind of compounding recurring growth and a new baseline of traffic coming in? And so that's how we look at it, as adding into the product, and then when you can bring it into other product features as well, you kind of get some SEO gains while you're assisting the other product features, and that way kind of SEO is not a cost fully on its own, but it's added into the other product metrics around conversion lift, et cetera, that you can kind of bake into some other product KPIs.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I see questions starting to roll in, so keep those coming. We're like I said, we're going to save some time at the end for questions. Also, Craig, Matt, you guys might be agreeing just a little too much. Like, feel free to disagree a little. This could generate some conflict. It's always good for the.
I think that paid search brand ads are a great idea.
Matt, hold that thought. There's a question in the chat somewhat related to that we can get to, so we will save some time. But okay. So far we've talked a lot about things from the SEO perspective, which is kind of all of our perspective, since we've been in the SEO side so much of our careers. But what about for maybe the digital marketers or the product managers who are in the room? How can we help position SEO so they see it's helping them achieve their goals, and position it in a way that it helps man them with the initiatives that that they have at hand.
Absolutely. So, look, revenue generation has to be the bottom line outcome of your initial proposal for any of your product ideas, any of your marketing concepts, any of your landing page creation, and your content creation as well. Content creation, blogging, content creation, videos, any kind of thing that you're going to attach to these concepts or ideas. You need to bring in customers that are going to generate revenue to help measure that SEO success for internal buy-in. If you don't start with your concept there, it's going to be read as, that's a nice idea from senior leadership. Yeah, great, interesting idea, but we're spending our time. You are a limited resource. You are a limited fixed opportunity for us to spend your hours and your time and potentially any other expenses that we have on these ideas. How will this generate revenue? How much revenue will this generate? So the opportunity that comes from these great ideas that a product manager might have, or someone that's building product ideas, has to come from the concept of, is there an audience? This is the thing I find that's the biggest gap sometimes, in a disconnect between, I want to create something, I'm going to throw something out there, or I'm going to put some materials or marketing materials out there. Is there an audience that already exists for this type of terminology or concept or idea? What are the words that they're using so that I can more closely relate that to natural language, than just some industry terminology that only we internally use? I find that to be some of the biggest challenges that I've had over the last 10 years, is that some marketing writers and salespeople and internal people in marketing and product will pivot toward terminology that is internal speak, or only from people that have been in an industry for 10 or 15 years use that type of highly technical or highly specific terminology, where there needs to be a focus on, what do the general people say? What do the generalists and the new people to this industry over the last 3 to 5 years use? And what are the first words that someone asks you about when a salesperson picks up a phone call and they say, hi, how can I help you? And they say, I'm looking for X. I used to keep something in my drawer a while ago. I think it was either an example from Matt Cutts or Martin, or someone on the Google team, or John Mueller. They would hold it up and say, what is this? This is a USB drive. It's a memory stick. It's a flash drive. People use all those different 3 types of words, those different groups of keywords. Be diverse in your terminology and the way that you approach how people call certain things, and use things that are in the real world. So I think that as a product person, as a manager, when you're coming to market with these ideas and concepts, understand your opportunity in the sizing of the terminology of people using, the volumes, the traffic that they're potentially getting. Test into it with paid search as well. If you don't think that you can rank for a brand new term in a short amount of time, in 3 months or 6 months, do partner with the paid search team. Get them to spend some money on this terminology to see if it's going to generate a certain amount of click-through rate, a certain amount of conversion rate, and what the average order value is going to be. And that way you can better size the potential of the opportunity for the SEO traffic that's going to come in, hopefully longer time period, but in larger volumes. I rambled for a while, so I'm going to let Craig take over for the next half hour.
Well, you covered a lot of it. I'm gonna Frank.
We're
I'm gonna
done.
disagree
All
with
right,
him on one thing. I'm gonna disagree on one thing, or
Yeah.
really add
Yes.
to
Yeah.
it. It's not only revenue generation. You can have SEO value applied to cost savings, or supporting other teams. So one example we had is, like, back when kind of FAQs, God bless them, they did us well for a while. When FAQ results were coming out, we were looking at ways on, how do we incorporate this in a way that makes sense on our pages, not just spamming a bunch of generic, the same FAQ for every single property around that, like, adds no value to the page. This was back when I was working in travel. Then I was listening in on the quarterly call from our quarterly reporting from our customer service teams, and they talked about these metrics on, these are the call dispositions, and this is what's driving calls for each of our different brands, be it luxury, budget, mid-tier. I was like, oh my God, that's a gold mine of data. So started talking to the customer service team, and I said, oh, if we could get answers to this published on these landing pages, on the property pages, where people are looking at that, can't figure out the answer, and so they're calling you, would that be a benefit? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes. So there I had a use case of, we're going to help the customer support team. It's going to be call diversion, which is going to be a cost savings, that then I've got another team championing the SEO feature I wanted to launch. Plus, they already had done all the research on, here are the top questions, here's the content we need to answer that. to be satisfactory for the user. And then we already kind of had the framework built and the research done, just needed to work with the developers on how do we code this out. And it was successful, and became an easy sell within for a product feature because we could tie it back to another team's metrics so that they would champion it. So I would say that, be it revenue, be it, a product KPI, be it a customer service KPI, if you can align some SEO ideas you have with problems that other teams are having, then you get another champion in the room. And it's not just for SEO. It's for SEO. It's for customer, it's for customer service, and it has an SEO benefit to it. And so you're leading with the other team that you want to be the sponsor of that feature for you. And I would say that, everything that Matt said, and then layer that on too, so that you find more allies in the other departments. Because what I hate hearing is when I go into something and they're like, oh, well, that's just for SEO. I'm like, well, it's for SEO, but it has all of these other benefits. And so you want to get other people in the room talking about those benefits as well.
I absolutely agree with you, Craig. That was a good addition and counterpoint. Customer service, the value add, the reduction in calls, perhaps, to something that's extremely annoying that they should be able to find on the web. I know there's a bunch of systems out there that, do have accessibility issues that are support forums, right? But they can't be found. Or the data is not well organized, or the SEO for that particular subdomain is crap. It's got a lot of wasteful material in it or rabbit holes. Those are really areas of opportunity for SEO for cost savings, cost efficiencies. I think one of the other things, branded terminology for the words discount or promo code. Those are usually things you can get a lot of value out of having a landing page for on your site that will bring in measurable SEO success for internal buy-in. But I've also seen areas of opportunity where the SEO team is more educated about what customers ask externally about your brand and are a wealth of knowledge in the keyword research area for product, for marketing, for customer service, to better understand how people want to engage with your brand but aren't able to today. Maybe it's a product walkthrough. Maybe it's an enterprise version of something. Maybe it's something that people are looking for videos about your product. Going to keyword research, typing in the brand name, and then finding out what auto populates or autofills afterward. I feel like SEO teams come to the table with a lot more external knowledge than some others in the organizations do, because they're looking at competitors' websites consistently. They're looking at what's in search results consistently. And you guys can bring that information back to the marketing and product teams where they may be a little bit too focused internally on the internal message, the internal outward message that we're pushing out, but not the information we're receiving in.
Yep. Agree with you there. And I think there are a lot of SEOs that sell themselves short on that and don't realize the value of having that external point of view. Because like you said, there are teams that are so focused in and so into the industry that it's all like everything comes out as very jargony. And it's like, well, no, that's like you said, that's not how a user searches. That's not how they're going to engage and how they're trying to think about the problem. And being able to take that to your product teams, your marketing teams, you give them wins. And really, if you're kind of early or mid-level SEO, early or mid-career, going and being able to take those wins and say, hey, here's something else that SEO can help you with. Here's a win we can give you. Then you're building up that bank that you can go cash some of that in later as, hey, now I need your support on this, and we're going to keep giving you this customer, these customer insights. I think that's a great point.
And building off, Craig, something that you had said just a little while ago too, of hearing, nothing is really just for SEO. I think one thing that gets lost too is that everybody that's making changes to a website has the ability to make $1 million changes, whether they're positive or negative, from an SEO perspective without realizing it, which is why what you both are talking about in terms of, just partnering with the other departments being so critical. And I know we have a slide of like biggest takeaways and kind of the do's and don'ts at the end, but I hope just making friends is one of our is on that list, because it sounds like that's where both of you have have seen just a lot of success, is making friends, so to speak, with the different stakeholders internally and folks that you are going to be dependent on. And I can tell you that is actually something that I have seen from maybe some SEOs who maybe have not been as successful, is where SEO is more of confrontational versus partnering with with those teams. So we've been going through these. We got a lot of questions in the chat. I think we probably got time for maybe like 2 more ish that we talked about ahead of time, and then we could go to the questions, because there's a couple really good ones in there. The one that I wanted to make sure that we talked about, because in our pre-game to this, Matt alluded to the fact that he's going to be able to say to definitively answer a debate that is as old as time in SEO. And the question that brought that up was, is there a previous scenario that comes to mind that you could just kind of briefly walk through, where you needed more resources, whether that was funding or developers, and what ultimately worked to drive those points across?
Absolutely. Google told me so. That was one of the easy ones. You can join Google public forum conversations, like with John Mueller or Gary or whoever else, Martin, are out there, and you can submit your question. And sometimes you actually get an answer that changes your entire organization. So we were debating on whether or not at a particular brand I was at, which was a health and wellness brand. We were debating on whether or not our forums of open discussions should continue to live on the website where they were. There were about 8,000 health-related articles and web pages on the site. And then in a subdirectory off of the www, there was a forum of discussion. And that was not moderated by, it was moderated. It was not moderated by a health and wellness individual or a registered doctor or nurse. And so we said, a lot of these pages are duplicative. They don't have a lot of value. They don't have a lot of medical content that is reviewed. And these forums have been around for years. And they also had not just hundreds of thousands, millions of pages within them, because there was new threads off of subthreads. And we said, man, what should we really do about this? Is it good enough to move this off to another subdirectory or a subdomain? Should we de-index them completely? So I actually got that question in, and I had an answer live from Google. It said, where you have them today is a bad idea. You should move them off your website. And I said, whoa, as everyone else should have that feeling of, I need to move 1 million pages off my website completely. And so can we move to a subdomain? Is that a big enough delineation between your money, your life, and health and wellness content, and a forum discussion around that topic, but not certified? And the answer ended up being yes. So I got the ability to go back for measurable success. We need to move the forum. It needs to go to the subdomain. Let's try that first before we go to a new domain. It'll still be connected to the website, the navigation, everybody can still find it, but it's not generating any SEO traffic anyway. Move it. We need to do this. Google said so. That's always helpful. So we got dedicated buy-in and resources. We moved the forum within about a 2-month period of time, which was great. And then luckily, very, very luckily, which doesn't happen to all of us, an algorithm update came across about 30 days later. It was enough time for Google to notice that those pages had moved, and enough time for it to reindex a bunch of the site and find all the content. And things ticked up significantly over the next 3 months after that algorithm update, and continued to a level that SEO traffic started to really kick ass and take names, to be honest. So very specific example, I think, but a really great example of making sure your money, your life, or your health and wellness material and any kind of non-related material is very well separated, not just by subdirectory, but maybe by a subdomain or even an entire domain.
Subdirectory versus subdomain, settled. Matt just settled it
Clearly.
for everybody. Send tweet. Craig, anything to build on or to be able to top that one?
I don't think I'm going to top that one since he waded into that. Since Matthew waded into the subfolder versus subdomain area, but I'd say for lobbying for resources, it's looking at what you can test as well for impacts. So for some things, we might start with different things I've done in the past that other teams can do. If you've got an idea and you're like, okay, everything tells me that investing engineering resources in making this modification is going to be a winner. How could you, with your current CMS or current pages, test that out? So do you have a place where you can insert the code on a set of pages to just test it, see what it does on that subset, whether you have a testing platform or you just manually track a set of 10 pages in your CMS and you do that to see, hey, do we get that feature? Do we increase click-through rate? Can I extrapolate that out into a report to then go and get a dev team for a sprint? Or for content, because I saw a question about in the chat around optimizing content for an existing blog was, we go through for lobbying for content resources. What I've done is we've gone and optimized, a set of posts or pages to see if we update these, if we bring in new fresh content and get them answering the questions better, do we see an increase in traffic? And then, okay, well, we did. And how much time did that take our team? Okay, well, in order to optimize all of our existing content and add the new content we need, here are the additional resources. But now from optimizing those first pages, we have a target metric on here's how much traffic we'll be able to deliver based upon going and hiring those resources in to do that at a wider scale. So where you can find ways to test, it's a grind and it's manual, but you get pieces of data that can tell you if you're on the right track or not.
I got to ask you, Craig. Now I get to challenge Craig back. That's fun. Craig, what about those things that if you have a site that's large enough, the diminishing opportunity of SEO returns on a test of what percentage of your pages or site you need to actually implement a change or a test to be able to say, I need to do this to everything, or at least as much as I possibly can. In individually written articles, that's tough. Doing 10% of the articles, watching those articles specifically, maybe you'll see some change. But what about things that need to be, I'm an old school SEO. Sometimes I sit on the side of the fence that says, I need to make a change site-wide to absolutely see if Google's going to notice this and make a directional change for us. Have you had experience in testing into something like that? Or do you go and just assume, knowing that it's going to be a good experience for the customer, go full bore and commit the full resources?
We've been having a lot of internal debates on this, on which signals now can you segment out and which are really applied site-wide or template-wide or section-wide. And so we've seen on different sites in our network some different results on, how big of a test do we really need to get that impact out. And we still haven't come to the final decision. When we think that it's got a positive benefit, if it hits all those other benchmarks for this is better for the user experience, this just makes sense to do, let's do it. But then feature flag it, do something so that if things go horribly wrong, you can back out with a hot fix. Have that, if there's any uncertainty, have that mitigation plan in place. Like, okay, everything says this should make sense for the user, but we don't know what the black box is going to score it. So, be able to document what you changed and be able to roll back. I like having a test that runs for long enough that our analytics team feels like um, they've got a good enough result change for that test to be able to say that they're confident that it was actually the test and not random seasonal or regional fluctuations that did it. Like I had one, and for travel, one analytics team was like, yeah, well, of course, more people booked hotels in this area that was included in your test because there were hurricanes that had hurricanes in the area. So more people were booking hotels. I'm like, well, damn it. We got holidays and hurricanes that, impact regular, the demand curve. But for
That's
anything that,
tough. Having
if you can isolate out, yeah, I mean, I still try to do like larger tests. Like, let's do it for a section, see if that has a positive impact, and then expand it. But yeah, we're still debating on which are the site-wide areas and which are like on a page basis.
You heard it, guys. You heard it here first. Weather.com is not the only person that's concerned with holidays and hurricanes as far as traffic seasonality is concerned. Boy, I thought I couldn't predict what was going to happen in editorial imagery for Getty Images sometimes, but holidays and hurricanes are tough.
Also, I have good news for both of you. We have split testing capabilities that can help you solve both of those challenges. As I have to throw in there, but we only have 5 minutes left, guys. So
you've got the Modify Hurricane tracker.
Rapid fire, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. So there's
rapid fire Q&A.
Two very high level. There's one question we had on our list that actually applies to like 4 questions that were in the chat. So let's try to do real quick answers on. I'm going to combine 2. Is one, we talked a lot about resources, more in terms of like developers and people, but what about technology costs in terms of tech stack, building, and the whole age-old build versus buy debate when doing things. So that was kind of one high-level topic that we didn't quite get to, as well as what do teams with low resources do? And there's about 4 questions in the chat about that. So maybe just a minute or so on how do you prioritize your tech stack spend and when to do build versus buy, and what can small or teams with small amounts of resources do, and then we could get into the paid search one that we see here at the top of the questions.
Tech stack for me is always based off of the size of the site and the tools that I need to get something done. Mm-hmm. If I can use Screaming Frog, great. Over the last 10 years, I have not been able to use Screaming Frog because every website I've had to work on has been over, I'm going to say 150,000, 200,000 pages plus. So currently, I'm working on a website that has over 4 billion pages. That's iStock's website, right? Yeah. That's tough. It's every image, 20 different languages, infinite number of keywords, anything with the word picture or video or photo or illustration or vector or icon on it. Tech stack for me, you have to weigh the value benefit that you're going to get. Does it save me a person? Is it going to be something that's so specialized and has enough features out of the box to replace what might cost me an entire human to do a lot of the time? And does it have automated things that make things easier? Does it alert me when it finds something different and I don't have to go through all the different reports manually with a human to find those issues? Craig?
Really the same. It's as you get higher in scale that having those resources baked into the stack is more and more important and saves you a lot of time from trying to do everything manually. Our team still uses Screaming Frog for tactical crawls, like list crawls, doing some of the individual small things. And then really for if you don't have many resources, beg, borrow, and steal. Find other teams that have an initiative that aligns with what you want to do for SEO and get added to that project. Then it's their budget, not your budget. And they're already doing the things and you're influencing. So take take the product manager or the marketing managers out to lunch. Talk to them, get into the projects that are getting the resources.
I have that slide in my last 10 years of strategy proposal at any company I've worked for, which literally says beg, borrow, and steal first, then see if the SEO devs have to do it.
And hopefully that helps. I saw there was like I said, like 4 or 5 questions on teams with small resources. So hopefully that helps you out there. The one I want to make sure we cover it. I know we're right at the time here because this goes to something Matt had alluded to. There was also a few different questions on paid and SEO. So hopefully trying to combine them into one here. But the top number one upvoted question we got was, what if both the paid and what if we are both the paid and organic team? Can we do anything with our ads that will also help SEO?
You could try Inception, making sure people use words that are similar to the naming convention of the product that you want to get them to click for, or maybe the name of the product, but you also, if it's got some kind of weird trademarked name, maybe that's something of interest. I don't know, Craig, your thoughts?
I thought you were going to go brand, non-brand.
Just don't spend.
The SEOs in the room say don't spend. I love it. I love it.
Spend.
It looks like I think we are right at time here. I know there's a lot of questions. Like I said, we tried to combine a bunch of the small team ones into one and to touch on the paid. I know our team at Botify is actually going to put together a post-event, blog post, and I think what we will try to do is provide answers to some of these other questions, that are in the chat that we did not get a chance to address individually, because we thank you, for them, and want to make sure that we get you some answers, to some of the ones that were maybe a little bit further down the list.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for taking part. We hope you've enjoyed this conference and that you've learned some new tactics to make your SEO strategy more effective. We're going to take a break, and before starting the next conference, you will receive an email from Livestorm in a few minutes to access it. If you have any problems joining the conference, you can contact us via support on the SEO Square website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.